Welcome back to Homestead on Main Street. Today we're going to talk a little bit about making our bread machines earn their keep. Maybe you've got one and you kind of given up on it. Maybe you haven't had too good of luck with it. This is just my first starter on kind of discussing bread machines. Today we're going to do pizza dough. Please feel free in the comments to let me know if you have any problems with breads or certain doughs and see if we can't help troubleshoot. If you've got some tips or tricks, please be sure to share them. So first thing I want to talk about is I like people to learn from my mistakes, and I have many. The first thing you want to do is make sure that your spinner's attached if you've washed it, because it's really heartbreaking to set it all in your machine in the proper order, in the proper way, and find out you have this piece sitting on your counter waiting to be installed, which really messes up the whole bread dough process. So first, let's make sure that's in your pan. Next, we're going to go with, we need, in this particular bread dough recipe, is 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of water. Especially with bread machines, things really try your best, if you're having trouble, to follow the directions just as they are. Not eyeballing, not guessing, stay right on your mark. When pouring your liquids in, try to go slow and easy to have the least amount of spatter, as you can see I'm spattering, as possible, because you want to keep here in the beginning stages your wet things as separated as possible from the dry. This one calls for 2 tablespoons of olive oil or vegetable oil. I like olive oil in my pizza dough. I feel it just kind of brings that little bit of extra flavor to it for us all to enjoy. Then you need 3 cups of bread flour. Handy dandy bread flour jar. Now, one of the things with bread and flour is to not scoop your bread, is to put it in. It almost helps making sure you're not having it compact and overfilling, and then going ahead and doing a scrape off, and then trying to spread that around as much as you can to make like a barrier between what's going to be your wet and your dry ingredients. By spooning into your measuring cup like I'm doing, that is going to help get as best as you can and as close as you can to the proper measurements. This is what works for me. When I veer from it, I tend to regret it. Let me know what your experience is. And there's our second cup. And I absolutely love this style of container for my flour. It gives me so much more space to work with and keeping things light and fluffy. If you're curious about some storage options for your flour, check out my other video. It gives you an idea of a way to store it instead of in a paper bag. And if you can see in here, I'm not going to tip it too much because I don't want to disturb everything, but we've pretty much got everything that's wet covered. Then we're going to come in with a teaspoon of sugar, a teaspoon of salt. Next is going to be our yeast. This recipe calls for 2.5 teaspoons of regular active dry yeast, or 2.5 teaspoons of bread machine yeast, or your quick acting active dry yeast. Most of the recipes I'll share, I'll try to make sure that I give you measurements for both your regular yeast and your machine yeast or quick acting yeast, as I know it varies on what might be on hand for you. It is essential, especially with the yeast, to have it be an accurate measurement, or things can go all crazy for you. I try my best to put this as close to the center as I can, There's 1 teaspoon. Oops. And 2 teaspoons. I'm gonna go with a half. Oops. Check some of that out. Don't be afraid to remeasure. These are, they pick up static electricity really fast, so they end up everywhere. So now we've got it all on the bread pan, and we'll get you to the bread machine. Okay, we've got our bread machine out, and I want to make sure that you are careful, if you haven't done this before, realizing when the beating takes place, the kneading happens. Often there's a lot of shaking going on, so make sure that you've got it on a stable surface when setting it up. I have a friend whose machine actually walked right off the counter where they had it. So we've put it in. For this particular machine, I have to select whether it's white, whole wheat, French, or sweet, and then I press select. Then whether I want it dark, medium, or light, medium, dark, or dough. I need to push it over to the dough setting. Large or small, I just leave it on large. And then I am ready to go. And for this, it's going to be 1 hour and 15 minutes, and we'll be back. I just wanted to give you an idea of, during the heavy kneading process, what's going on, so I'll let you take a peek here. One thing that I really like about using my bread machine for my dough is it handles all of the rise time and kneading time on its own. I don't have to set timers or reminders or stop what I'm doing to knead the dough to go, oh my gosh, you know, has it risen enough? Do I need to do something else? So again, this is one of those pieces of equipment in the kitchen that needs to earn its keep, and this is a perfect way to do it. Let's see what she has in store for us. Ooh, there we go. Look at that. And I didn't have to do all that work of kneading and pounding and beating and stirring around. Perfect. Let's get going. Now we've got everything set out now to get our freshly made dough onto our pan. I've got my handy dandy all-purpose flour container. If you didn't catch that, you can catch that in an earlier video of what I do for flour storage. I use Crisco when I grease my pans for pizza. If you do something a little bit different, let me know. Maybe I've got something new to try. I like to flour my fingers a little bit and get it all in my sauce as well. And I'm not sure if you can see how nice that came out. Nice big old beautiful dough. Now, unfortunately, if you came here to watch us be thrown in the air, it's the wrong channel. Though maybe, you know, one of these times we'll do some sort of fundraiser and actually throw it in the air. But for this time, we're gonna save it for dinner. Nice, beautiful, fluffy. I love that. I have to get a little stretch before I get started on the pan. Let gravity help me out a little bit with the process here. She's just a scant bit sticky. Now, some people will do this with a rolling pin. I don't. I guess I like to play with my pizza. And I'm sure in some cultures it's a it's a breach to make pizza with a rolling pin, because you gotta play with it with your hands. I apologize, I am trying to pull this off on the stove as I don't have the counter space. I wish I did. One of the things I failed to mention earlier is if you like to go with a little bit more creative pizza crust, you can actually add 2 tablespoons of grated Parmesan cheese or Romano and a tablespoon or tablespoon and a half of dried basil, oregano, thyme, or any kind of Italian seasoning in with your first starting flour mixture for this. And get even more creative. If there's something you like to do to give it that little bit of extra panache, please feel free to share that so we can all give it a try. Let's see. Now, I don't go for perfect, I go for let's eat this. So I think we're just about down the home stretch on this. Now I've already preheated up some of my homemade canned pizza sauce, which I've got extra. I can it in these smaller jars because for us, this usually works pretty good for one of these pizzas. Sometimes there wasn't quite as much in the jar, and I've gotta add another backup, but I do like to use these smaller containers. It seems to work out great for just a single pizza and nothing seeming to go to waste with it. And I think I opened one of my shorter jars, and we're gonna have to go and open that second jar of sauce because that is just not enough sauce. So, which actually works out pretty good because I'll teach you something else I do. So, irrelevant of whether you're a lid reuser, one of the things that's nice to know is how to pop one of these lids without damaging it. That way, if you're ever looking for a lid for any other storage purposes on your jars, you could use your your already canned lids. You don't have to recook with them if you don't want to. If you are into recanning with them, that's fine. That's your choice. But to save your lids for other purposes, whether maybe you're putting buttons in this or something else you're storing in it and you don't need the actual resealing of it, but you need a flatter surface or something, maybe you're going to use them for decoration process. I've seen people use these and poke holes in the tin to make like little Christmas decorations. So what I do is I find the thread closest to the lip and I come over just a little bit. I place my screwdriver. Can you tell this one's been used as a screwdriver? Yeah, wait till I find out who did that. So I lay my knife, and this will be a little bit hard to show here, but I lay my knife here. There's the end of my thread. I lay my knife flat. Then I take my can opener, lightly pop around the edge, and there we have a lid that hasn't suffered any damage. We can use that for another project. We'll add our sauce. Now you can, I've done this with spaghetti sauce, I've done it with marinara sauce. I can marinara sauce as well as spaghetti sauce or pasta sauce. You could use spaghetti sauce from the store. You could buy pizza sauce from the store. You could make some up fresh. You could change the base and do something different with it. You could do barbecue or Kind of open up the fridge and go, what do we need to use up? And do maybe a bacon ranch with it. But these are just always nice ways to keep your bread machine earning its keep in the house. So in my trot through this refrigerator, I found a partial bag of Fiesta blend, partial bag of sharp cheddar. I found some pepperoni and some amazing bacon. Nice, beautiful bacon. You can also go just straight veggie. Maybe you've got some veggies in the fridge that needs to be used up. Grab that out, get it cut up, get her on here, get her used up. Let's not let that stuff go to waste. I totally know what it's like to reach in that fridge and go, gosh, I didn't use something up. So get in your bread machine to kick you out some pizza dough and just kind of making whatever kind of pizza you want, go with it. I'll just do a little part of this with bacon, and I'll get some of our cheese on here. And experiment with your cheeses. Maybe you got a little bit of mozzarella left. Maybe you got a little sharp, little cheddar, little provolone, little sweat, you know. Experiment, have some fun with it. Get things used up in the fridge. Whenever you can. Don't be afraid to try something. You could split this up. This dough recipe is actually, so you could do two 12-inch pizzas, two 12-inch round pizzas. You could actually do that. For me, we just typically do one large. You could break it up and do a bunch of smaller personal pizzas and let everybody kind of create their own pizza, you know, kind of have it a little pizza buffet and let everybody set their own out and create their own and get people into cooking that might not have been. Teach them not to be afraid. So for this, the recipe that I've got calls for a 450 degree oven, preheating, of course. And it calls for the bottom rack. I'm not a super crispy crust person, so I don't go all the way to the bottom rack. I'm probably the second or third from the bottom. But, you know, depending on your crispiness, but at least you kind of have an idea of what they call for. Another thing, you could also do this more like a whole wheat pizza crust. You could decrease the bread flour, the regular bread flour to 1.5 cups and add 1.5 cups of your whole wheat flour, and you know, making sure that if your machine has a setting that says, instead of where I had mine at white, always taste test, by the way, you would switch it over to wheat. And we'll do a little section for everybody who likes a little extra pepperoni. There we go. That's into that second time. Remember, it's key to make sure that what you're putting out there is good. So taste testing is very important. My oven isn't quite up to temperature, so we're gonna put it on hold for a bit and we'll be right back. Well, there you go. Making your bread machine earn its keep. Happy homesteading.